Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Propervarian, and today I am happy to say that we are going to jump for the very first time in 2024 into CK and CK3 in particular content. That is, I want to talk today about what it might be that we're looking at when it comes to the new content coming in this year. The last year, I already talked about it, I was pretty happy, at least the happiest I think that I've been with post-release content for CK3 ever, which isn't too difficult just because of how difficult the initial years were, but I'm very hopeful for 2024. Let's talk about what it might be, what the community thinks it might be, and of course what we all actually want to see. You know, when it comes to Chapter 3, so that is the upcoming Season Pass, we don't know the pricing, we don't know the exact pricing of what is in it, but when it comes to that, I really want to see more systemic stuff. The devs have said as much as well, that they also want to go into that direction. They want more content that impacts you anywhere, that really just adds more content whatever you are doing, rather than just to particular regions or to particular playstyles. I like this idea, but we have very little to go on when it comes to what it might be. Now, my favorite thing that I really want to see eventually is trade. Trade is something that I've read up on quite a bit, actually like an excessive amount, but I don't think that it's coming this year. I'm gonna be honest with you, with the descriptions that we have before us here for the upcoming content, I wouldn't think that that is coming. I have a couple of other suggestions here of people what they think is coming. We're gonna take a look at all of those, of course, but also then for my hopes going forward. But I'm gonna be honest with you right away, if you're a trade enthusiast much as I am, then I don't think this is going to be our year. Anyway, let's jump into the text of what is going to go on in Chapter 3. Similar to this year, the chapter will include 4 items, including one major expansion. One difference from Chapter 2 is that we have swapped out the flavor pack in favor of a larger type of expansion that we call a core expansion. I will clear up what this means in just a bit. Other than that, there will be an instant unlock to start Chapter 3 off and an event pack to close the package. So, what's the difference between a major expansion, so like for example tours and tournaments, and a core expansion? The new expansion format refers to the core gameplay loop. It focuses on adding, changing or updating mechanics that are applicable for most rulers and or high impact systems that affect large parts of the game world. Unlike flavor packs, which are strictly regional in nature, major expansions are wider and will either apply sweeping updates to the world, give you new ways of playing the game, such as new playstyles, or both. This means that core expansions are scoped in between flavor packs and major expansions. They're bigger and more impactful than flavor packs, but smaller with fewer sweeping changes than major expansions. Seeing how we want to shift towards more high impact content that appeals to a majority of the community, we decided to up our pace and make a core expansion instead of a flavor pack next year. I'm so happy to hear this. So, the important impact here will be that even more so than, for example, with the Iberian Peninsula, so the Fate of Iberia DLC or the DLC Northern Lords, and even Legacy of Persia, of course, we're looking at an update that would be coming with this core expansion that is meant for the entire world. Now, I'm gonna be honest, Legacy of Persia actually goes pretty far there already because they changed the clan government quite substantially, no matter where you play, whether it's in Persia or not. But, of course, the main draw of this update, be it the paid or the free stuff, is, well, Persia, right? But with the core expansions, we are looking at content that will be something that touches you anywhere. The most common guess for this, and I think this is pretty clear when we actually get to the text for the core expansion here, is diseases. And I would be very happy about diseases as well. I've taken a very quick glance just recently into CK2 because I want to do a video about CK2 in 2024, and I gotta tell ya, I am missing diseases. I don't love them in CK2, but my god, they are definitely something that we just don't have right now. There's nowhere where I can just look at the map and see completely disease-riddled buildings. I would very much look forward to that because that is something that, yeah, it will impact you wherever you are and it will play a big role. But whether that even is the core expansion remains to be seen. We just have a couple of clues to go on. Anyway, that said, I want to emphasize how excited we are for the next year, and though I really want to tell you what we're working on, I must limit myself to obscure hints and extremely non-telling images for now. The instant unlock. The instant unlock will be similar to Elegance of the Empire, the one we had for Chapter 2. This time we are also aiming to make clothes that embody the very essence of royalty. Inspired by the culture of the French, they will be gilded and lavish, and as with all assets we make, they are real, well-researched and historical. Here's a little peek of a crown. The gilded angle is a personal highlight. I have been told, at least a thread here has basically found as much, that this is the crown of Louis IX, I believe, the crown of Liège. I am very much looking forward to this, but I'm going to be honest with you, I am actually at this moment not in possession of Elegance of the Empire, so yeah, I can't really enjoy it. And more importantly, I think the Elegance of the Empire DLC effectively had nothing to do with any of the DLCs afterwards, so just because this is French, I don't think that our takeaway here can be that the upcoming DLC in Chapter 3 are also going to be about French stuff. Now the next stuff that I want to talk about is this right here, a new experiment. At the beginning of next year, so 2024, we've got another small experiment lined up. While I cannot go into detail about what it is, I can say that it has something to do with the game directly, and that involves something we have never done before. We are very excited about it, and we hope you will be too. The idea for it actually came directly from the community itself, during a PDXCon where the Crusader Kings III team got to interact with some of you. You will be able to get your hands on this experiment very early next year, before the release of the new chapter. Now, I don't think this has been confirmed, but I think we now know what that new experiment is. Let's take a look at it. I think that this right here is the named experiment, although I haven't seen it confirmed anywhere explicitly. This is the CK3 Content Creator Pack North African attire. You can see right here that this adds attire, indeed, that is meant for Berber, for Maghrebi, and so on, and they're all very, very beautiful, although I doubt that she can see very well. Either way, this is a Content Creator Pack. If you've played Stellaris, if you've played Cities Skylines 1, then you will know these already. These are basically people from the community, modders and so on, that essentially were said, hey, do you want to create one of these packs? You of course will be rewarded for them, rather they will get a share of all the proceedings and so on, and then they're looking at this, they can create their stuff, and that is how we get more content, and of course the modders actually get paid. Now El Tyrannos is a saint of a modder. I'm just gonna be honest with you, if you have played CK3 with any mods, I guarantee you that you've probably played with the CFP. And yeah, I'm really happy to see El Tyrannos here, indeed in a position where he can at least make some money off of this. I hope that this trend continues, because this will put us into a position where they will be able to just have more content for CK3 going forward. I have a positive and a negative caveat here for sure though. This is relatively small, so I don't mind this. I also again think that it's positive that we get more content, that the modders here get a reward, and I also hope that this goes further, that for example maybe the creator of Rice and Viet also gets a chance to create more content for DLCs for CK3 right here. But I will say, I always hated when we return to a DLC model where you have 1 million different DLC types, and I don't like that, okay? So I hope that this gets summed up to some degree at some point, or something like that anyway, because this is, as I at least understand it, outside of the Chapter 3. And yeah, I dread the days of CK2 where we had a soldier. I actually did that calculation once, so I recall this correctly, right? We had that DLC, I can't even remember what it was called, but we had that Northern DLC for CK2 very early on. It was called The Old Guards, that's what it was called, right. The Old Guards in its own right, I believe was like $13.99, something like that. Then you had a Shield DLC, you had a Character Portrait DLC, you had a Music DLC, and a Unit DLC. Each of these smaller DLC was like $2.99, so you came up, if I'm not mistaken, that is the number that I have in my head anyway, to like $24.99 in 2013 for that entire DLC bundle together. So indeed, my main concern for this DLC is actually just that I hope that we don't go back to these CK2 days. But yeah, for the time being, I'm happy to see more content added, and of course El Tyrannos very much deserves it as well. But now let's move on to the juicy, to the meaty stuff, and that is the core expansion right here. The core expansion will, among other features, introduce something that has been frequently requested by you in the community. Yeah, no wonder everybody thinks it is illness. I personally always frequently request trade, but I don't think that's what it's going to be. I think illness, diseases, that kind of stuff is very, very likely. They did an experiment. If you've played CK3 lately, of course, then you will have noticed this as well, that they partially walked kind of back, where they added random deaths, right? And I'm going to be honest with you, I turned them off. I'm not going to lie to you, I completely turned them off when I play the game, because random deaths just, they feel so undeserved, kind of. It just happens, and yes, that is how life is, but it's so very little connected to what I'm doing, what is going on, the actual risks that I'm putting my character into, and so on. It was a nice idea, but fundamentally diseases would be much more connected. To see the disease coming, people at your court get sick, and so on and so forth. So if it is diseases, it would indeed be worthwhile, and it has been frequently requested. The game being more difficult is, I think, one of the most requested things currently in the community, and diseases always comes up in that discussion. Without saying too much, it will definitely make the game more challenging. Yeah, right? And we've spent a lot of time making sure that it is as dynamic and immersive as possible, while also presenting you with new ways to strategize. We're also going to introduce a feature dripping with medieval flavor, a system that can be used by clever players to really make their mark on the world. I see here, I'm not sure. All in all, this expansion will lean more towards the systemic side of the game. So I think diseases is pretty likely. It could also be something like battle deaths, battle duels in general, right? Maybe something related to warfare, although I have my doubts there because warfare is something that I think is pretty low on the priority for the game for the time being. I don't think, again, it's trade. I don't think it's like invaders or any of that stuff. So yeah, diseases sounds likely. But when it comes to leaving a mark, I'm thinking maybe it is related to, for example, building landmarks. Now, Thalassic, the studio that has in the past supported CK3's development, no longer exists, but Thalassic was the one that created a really, really cool wonder building system for Imperator Rome. And if we got that kind of for CK3, I would be crazy happy. And leaving a mark on the world sounds kind of fitting, right? Let's take a look at what we have right here. Chobo right here suggests, co-expansion, could this be a better disease, illness and injury system? With diseases ravaging the lands and the characters also having deeper mechanics and more traits of illnesses and injuries, especially compared to the maimed and ill traits, to be honest. Currently, this is rather rough around the edges, maybe even with weather mattering more in the gameplay. Oh, leaving a mark on the world. No, it doesn't really fit with weather, right? If not, my second guess would be trade and mechanics around it. I want to see trade, but I don't think we're gonna see it. If, let's just assume this, if you introduce illnesses first and then trade, you can seamlessly introduce trade and carrying forward illnesses into that system. So I'm like, I think illnesses will come first and maybe after that trade. So basically, yeah, the guess appears to be illnesses, especially if we take a look at this guy. This is probably a reference to the Pied Piper of Hamelin. It seems very likely. I honestly don't really have any other ideas for co-expansion because, yeah, makes the game more challenging. I don't think it's warfare. I don't think it's trade. Trade doesn't really make it more challenging either. I'm not sure about the leaving a mark on the world, but I would love to see basically a wonder building system. Maybe even a reliquary system, you know, where you put relics into, for example, churches, that sort of stuff. But I feel that is for a religious rework, which this doesn't really sound like. Because, yeah, making the game more challenging by enhancing religious gameplay, I don't think so. What do you think this co-expansion will be? Alright, but anyway, let's move on to the major expansion. As with a co-expansion, the major expansion will focus on several things that have been requested by you in the community for ages. Some of what we're choosing to do has been asked for since early days of Crusader Kings as a game series. One of the feature sets comes up very frequently when we see you discuss what you would like to see in expansions, and another is brought up now and again as a powerful player fantasy. I don't even dare say what I think this is, okay? No matter what, we promise that this expansion will provide several new and fresh perspectives and should please you regardless of which style of expansion you prefer, systemic or roleplay focused, so it ought to be a mix of it. We can barely wait until you get your hands on this one, and personally I can say that it's one of the expansions I have been wanting to make since my early days working on CK2. Its time will soon come. So this is Alexander Altner speaking, the game director. I think that is the official title. I'm afraid to say this, because I've always been a notorious fiend. I've been a notorious enemy of this particular mod. But there was a famous mod for CK2 called Rise to Power. A mod that makes it so that you could be landless and still walk around and do your stuff. I personally never vibed with it, because it's like you kind of just do stuff until you get a title and then it's the normal gameplay loop. So you are kind of in a waiting room, at least the way I perceived it, but my god, people loved it and I don't think they were wrong fundamentally, right? I can't think of much else that was more demanded and has never been implemented, because this is of course important. It is explicitly stated here that this has been requested for ages since the start of the series, which means it never made it in, so this isn't really, you know, anything related to, for example, let's say trade, let's say China, let's say anything related to, I don't know, elections, council mechanics, that sort of stuff that we had, for example, in Conclave in CK2. It might be landless gameplay. You can see it right here as well. We have Srekom92 saying, well, in my 10 plus years on the CK forums, what I've seen, things that have been requested most by the community are playable unlanded characters. You can see this person hates all of these suggestions, but let's go through them one by one because I think they're pretty spot on here with what seems likely. Unlanded characters have been demanded since forever, and it makes sense. It's kind of, if you ever played Mount and Blade, then you will be like, why can't I just walk over the map and be a sellsword? Why can't I just be a trader, a mercenary, and so on? And it makes so much sense if you really think about it. They gave us the ability to actually traverse the map. Unlanded characters, right? Anyway, let's say it's not unlanded characters. It could be playable barons. I don't think it's likely. If you add barons, that's just like an extra thing. You can't do much more. There's nothing interesting there. I don't think it's coming. I've never heard a dev basically talk positively about gameplay added for barons. Playable theocracies? I would have thought likely, but I don't think it is likely anymore because, well, basically, I have heard the devs said one time too often, we don't want to do theocracies because dynastic gameplay is front and center of CK3, and theocracies really aren't that. Now, I will say, I think it's kind of incorrect if we look at medieval clergy, in particular in the Christian area, of course, because that is what I'm most familiar with. Most of those titles were basically inheritable. If you had, for example, a bishop living somewhere in the Holy Roman Empire, there's a chance that he has a bastard and that he set that bastard up to become the next bishop. Yeah, they did do that. They basically were dynasties. It's just in all but name they weren't, right? Then also we have Age of Justinian the Great. I doubt it. I have heard so many devs say that the Age of Charlemagne already was a huge mistake in CK2 because it was all fantasy, and it was. The map was complete bonkers, it was insane, it was nonsense, it didn't make any sense. I don't think we're getting Charlemagne back, and if we're not getting Charlemagne back, I don't think we're getting this back, because this is, I mean, there's so much going on there that has nothing to do with feudalism. I don't think it's likely. Pops, I don't think so. CK3 will never get pops. Never. Every dev that I've ever talked to basically was like, pops, well, actually, a couple of them, of course, have a different opinion, but there also always has to be a minority opinion. But most of the time, they're like, pops doesn't fit in. This is a character-focused gameplay. We're not doing pops. Other than that, China, they're not too... no, China has already been done technically off-map, at the very least in CK2. So I don't think this is it, because this seems to be something very, very new that has never been done. But at the same time, I will admit that a map expansion is something they want to do, adding the old world. I just don't think it's coming anytime soon. Fun fact, the current community manager for CK3 unironically thought that within the first year of the game being out, China would be added. Yeah, talk about being wrong about something, right? In this case, I would guess that China is coming, but probably not within the next couple of years. My guess is this. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think this is it. Now let's take a look at what Shobo has to say here. Definitely imperialism, empire overhaul, and imperial government types. Probably with a new twist and maybe even tributaries. Oh my god, I miss tributaries so much. And independent diplomatic contracts. Probably some cultural items and close to the ERA, and with that the lack of a flavor pack would be a bit clearer. I guess it will be put before religion, which would have been my second guess. You know, I'm reading this now and I'm like, one of the feature sets comes up very frequently when we see you discuss what you would like to see in expansion, and another is brought up now and again as a powerful player fantasy. They don't clarify here which one of those is the one that has never been done before but has been requested since the start of the early days. Because in CK2, we had an imperial governance system. I did not love it. I did not love imperial elective in the Byzantine Empire. I thought it was horrendous, but we had that. So this wouldn't be the new thing. If they did more religion, oh, like Imperator would be so good. If they did that, that would be new. What we have in CK3 already in terms of religion is already much, much more than we ever had. But I don't know of any topic in religion that people are requesting as a powerful player fantasy. My bet here is landless gameplay, or maybe theocracies. I still don't think it's trade. This does not sound like trade at all. Nobody but me talks about trade. I'm sorry to admit this. It pains me because I would love to see trade. I think it's theocracies, although I would wager this is unlikely. And maybe, oh my god, unlanded characters. That's a big hurdle, but if they do it right, it would be amazing. And then the other one, I would love to see religion. I would love to see imperial gameplay. I would love to see more council involvement. There's so much there. I would love to see societies that supersede factions, because that has also never been done. There's a lot of guesses there. And there's a lot of stuff that could take a lot of work. There's some really strong cases here for this. I think all of these are actually pretty good, although again, when it comes to how the devs talk about this, I would exclude all of these basically. For this one, this is really good, but like, is it the time for imperial content? I mean, people request it a lot. I have heard the devs decidedly basically talk about the notion that they don't want to do just Byzantine content, they want to do imperial content, so it would be perfect for a major expansion rather than a flavor pack. You tell me what you think it is. There's a lot of juice that could go in this. If it is both for roleplay people and systemic people, we could be looking at a great 2024. I'll be honest with you, all of the topics that I've mentioned, I would be excited for. I just want more systemic content. I want to have more interfaces. I want to have more things that I can do, more lifestyles that maybe I could do. So much stuff. You know what I would also really like to see resurface, although this is a completely different topic that comes out of left field here. I need the ambition system from CK2 back. That system was gold. I loved that system. If we could get that back as well, but I don't think this doesn't sound like it. Honestly, I'm not sure. This right here, the core expansion, this guy seems like an obvious, you know, sort of throwback to the Pied Piper. I think it's probably diseases. Who the hell knows what else it might be in this one right here to make a mark on the world. Although I would like to see Great Wonders to come back. They already were in CK2, although in a worse version than what we ultimately had in Imperator Rome. Anyway, what we're looking at here with a major expansion, I am much less, you know, kind of sure to make a guess. You tell me what you think. It could be a lot. It could be nothing of what I mentioned. What else is there? Nomads. Oh, nomads would be great. Or tribal. A government rework. We've never had a government rework. At least not a proper one. You tell me, okay? Anyway, let's move on to event pack. As mentioned above, this time there will be no poll about the theme. Instead, we've been seeing an overwhelming amount of discussions about a certain well-liked feature for months. Travel? Could it be travel? That's the only thing that I keep seeing debated. We've chosen to expand that feature with more things to do and experience, and this time we will be focusing on highly visible content. I have no idea what this means. Let's consult our two favorite forum posters. Wait, nope, nothing in here. Let's take a look at this. Event pack, something more with the travel and activities around it. If it is months, it could be more variants of travels like adventures, journeys, or heroic quests. Oh, Chobo, you're a genius. I would love to see quests. Heroic quests. Oh, there could be like ambitions. Diplomatic meetings and more events around them. Now, I will temper myself when it comes to this. Major expansions really are big. I think Tours and Tournaments was a huge DLC. If the core expansion truly is bigger than the flavor pack, then like we have something to look forward to there as well. Event packs have been pretty small every time they came out. They have a low price, and yeah, that's what they are. University visits were added. Hostages, kind of hostage exchanges, that stuff. It's not nothing, but it's not that big, right? So I don't want to go too far here. Heroic quests might be too much. It could be, because they do say highly visible, holding sprawl, maybe visible seasons, visible weather. Could it? But that's like not really an event pack, right? Maybe this is about building great wonders. Maybe it's in here rather than in the core expansion. I don't know. I'm looking at this and I'm like, I would love heroic quests that like goes into having an actual adventure, that kind of stuff. I would absolutely adore this. That might be the first event pack that I would be excited for. I talked about this previously, that event packs kind of don't do it for me at all, because I've seen Victoria 3's Dawn of Wonder. Having the entire map at night, having actual day and night cycles that look so pretty, it just really completely disqualifies anything else in my eyes. I love events and all that stuff, but it's just less impactful, right? If they add more highly visible content, could it just be... Is this like a literal pun? Is it like... No, I have no idea what this might be. I don't want to go too far, because again, in the past, event packs have been very small. I would like to see Great Wonders. I would love to see heroic journeys, like actual ambitions, where you can go out and seek glory. I would love that. That would be perfect. Oh my god. Right, so basically, in conclusion, with this one, instant unlock, yep, it's gonna be pretty minor. I don't think, at least not if the past indeed tells any story for us here, that this is going to have any impact on what we're getting later. Like, I don't think this is an indicator that the content here will be in France or related to France. I think that this is gonna probably be diseases right here, and I would be so happy with it just because, well, we can travel now, traveling with a disease, spreading a disease with travel. Oh my god, it would be great. Major expansion, this guy's bowing. I don't know what the hell he's trying to tell me here. What is this supposed to be? He's bowing. This is a church, I think, like a monastery church building. Could it be religion because it's like church monastery? Maybe. I don't know what this is. This is, I'm pretty sure, the Pied Piper, right? But there's no clue. And this right here is a scribe. Oh, is it like maybe heroic journeys that are recorded and go into the chronicle? That would be cool. Anyway, tell me what you think. Because I would be excited for these things. Honestly, I think the only way they could disappoint me is if we get content that I really don't care for, like if they bring back global societies, for example. I want societies, don't get me wrong here, but much more restrictive, much more realistic, with people that you care about, rather than the way they are right now in CK2 anyway. None of these, I'm going to tell you that much, none of these to me indicate societies, at least not directly. It could be in the major expansion. But if societies come back, I mean, we definitely need them. I said this when it comes to Legacy of Persia. I'm disappointed that we got back Secret Religions, but they're so much less juicy than what we have in CK2 with secret religious societies, that kind of stuff. If we get that, I'm game. If we get like societies plus religions, I would love it as well. But then again, there are so many different ways that can go. Yeah, anyway, listen, in conclusion, I have no idea what is in any of these things. I would love to see stuff related to religion, to empire, to governance in general, maybe, to maybe unlanded characters. But you gotta do a lot of lifting to not make it just like a waiting room until you actually get a title and then you just play the normal game. But you can make so many things much more interesting, like travel. You could do traveling, like circuses almost, right? You could do mercenary bands actually playing a role now. Holy orders, oh. I gotta stop thinking about this because I'm gonna get my hopes up too high. You tell me what you want, and even if it's in dissonance to this, what you think will be in here. These are my guesses. I'm not set on any of them, except probably for the co-expansion, but highly visible stuff in the event pack, huh? Scribe. What are your secrets, pal? What are you writing down? Anyway, that's it for this year, and they will be back in 2024. If I'm not mistaken, in the coming week, the Dev Diaries will return. Either way, I'll leave you right here as well. Let me know for sure what you think it will be in the comments, and I'll see you later, alligator.